Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the culmination. Well, I mean, it's not a culmination, but it ought to have been a culmination. It should always be a culmination. A Beethoven cycle, a new one, with the Kammerakademie Potsdam under Antonello Manacorda. Now, Manacorda obviously has a source of money, funds, lucre, pesetas, whatever you want to call them, because he's gotten Sony to release complete cycles of Schubert symphonies, Mendelssohn symphonies, and now Beethoven symphonies. I mean, and why? And for what reason? Well, because he's there and he's got this chamber orchestra and they're very good. But these are, and I've listened to all of this stuff, by the way, these are basically cookie cutter performances. And by cookie cutter, we mean they all are stamped from the same mold. We are used to now these quasi-period instrument influenced chamber orchestra versions of the first half of the 19th century's classical orchestral works. It's a long statement, but it's true, isn't it? The best version of these with that type of ensemble is still the Deutsche Kammerorchestra Bremen under Pavel Järvi on RCA. They're all similar. They all kind of sound the same. Now, you could argue, and rightly, that your average Beethoven symphony cycle from the mid-60s, they all kind of sounded the same in the sense that you had big orchestras doing things in a similar way. And the key was, of course, finding differences in interpretation based on the genius of the guy at the podium. So is Manacorda a genius? Well, there's a problem with this version of the cookie cutter as opposed to the prior version of the cookie cutter. And the problem with this version of the cookie cutter is that the strictures in how you have to make the ensemble sound and the things that you have to do and the tempos that you have to observe tends to limit the opportunities that a conductor has to actually put a personal stamp on the music. I mean, conductors of genius, like Harnoncourt, for example, for good or for ill, manage to put their stamp on the music. Pavel Järvi puts a stamp on the music, and he has playing that's so fabulous, it's just unbelievable anyway. But these very good chamber orchestras all sound to me somewhat mechanical and rather similar, and they have similar problems, actually, which is a lack of bass lines, a certain compacted sonority in tutis. I mean, these people argue that if you use smaller forces, you have greater transparency of texture and all that. That's not true. That's only true in certain softer passages. When things start to get loud and the whole ensemble is playing, usually it all just clogs up. It's just very, very clotted. And these are like that. I mean, the finale of Beethoven's Fifth. Where are the trumpets? Where, I ask you? What did they do? Why are they there? I mean, there are some things that he hits with particular force. The storm in this Pastoral Symphony is tremendous. It's fabulous because the timpanist is going nuts. I mean, it's really very, very powerful and impressive. I grant you that. He has some interesting things with tempos. I mean, the first movement of the Eighth Symphony is so fast you don't even hear the tune. The tune is da 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 dum. Well, this goes da 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 dum. It's like that. I mean, at first you're not even sure it's happened. So, but then when he has the big climax in the center of the development section, which is the most tense, exciting climax, arguably, in all of Beethoven's symphonies, you could argue. He whips it up to a fury, and the timpani are rolling underneath, and you hear them very clearly, and it's delightful. But then the big thing arrives, and the tune's in the bass, and you don't hear it because there aren't enough of them, and it just fizzles. It fizzles. It's just another, like I said, period instrument chamber orchestra Beethoven cycle without too many distinctive qualities. And the ones that are distinctive, like I said, the big storm in the pastoral, a fast tempo here, an inner voice there. so what? I mean, at this point, who cares? Really? The Eroica, there's nothing special happening there at all. And as usual in the coda, it sounds sort of like everyone's kind of out of tune. It's odd. It's odd in that respect. And then, of course, we get to the ninth, which never works in chamber versions. I mean, when you play that symphony with a chamber orchestra, it reminds me of Tovey's comment, which is like, what could be more vile than a 5-foot tall pyramid? I mean, the whole point is the size of the thing. I mean, that's part of it. I mean, the scope and if you're not going to play it big, there's no point in playing it. It's a big piece. The scale of it is enormous, and it needs the contrast that only larger forces bring. When I hear performances of that symphony, with these forces, especially in the choral finale, I think of that, the little tiny Stonehenge on Spinal Tap, and they're doing the groups out there, and they're supposed to do this thing about Stonehenge. This little Stonehenge comes dancing across the back of the stage. It needs to have the scale. The scale is all wrong. So, yeah, what do you got here? They had the money to make Sony release this. Sony's doing no promotion, of course. They don't care, but it's on a major label. And how long it's going to stay around, I have no idea. I mean, the Schubert symphonies are available separately, but the box or the set, which I think came out, I heard them separately. But I believe there was a set. Well, it's gone. It's just poof. These are probably going to be limited editions. And they're going to come and go, and no one's going to even think twice about them. That's my prediction. I certainly am not going to think twice about it, and you don't need to either. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.